Welcome back to the Ghost Bunny Podcast. I'm your host, Bridget Marquardt, with a brand new episode for you guys. My guest today is Steffany Strange. Steffany is a producer, researcher, narrator, host, and psychic medium. She lives at the crossroads of the supernatural and pop culture. You may have seen her on CW's Mysteries Decoded, heard her voice narrating the BuzzFeed Unsolved or Something Scary, or caught her sharing haunted history and strange stories on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. With a background as a psychic medium, she has combined her skills and passions to explore all things eerie and unexplained. Through her podcast, Getting Strange with Steffany Strange, she dives into urban legends, psychic reflections, and stories that don't just spook, they speak. As a proud American Salvadoran, she is passionate about uncovering and amplifying diverse voices and folklore that are often overlooked in the mainstream media. She has led psychic medium development circles, hosted seances at historic sites, and partnered with fellow creators and brands to bring thoughtful, culturally aware storytelling to life. Whether she is exploring haunted roads, interviewing ghost story collectors, or examining the ethics of spiritual work, her mission is simple: to make the paranormal more inclusive, informed, and grounded. So, let's get strange. Steffany, thank you so much for doing the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
So, for those that might remember, and I think that there's a lot of new people on this podcast too, but Steffany was on my old podcast it was a while ago, right? I should have looked at the date. I didn't look at the exact date, but I feel like it was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh my God, maybe. Yeah, it's been a minute for sure.
Yeah, so we have so much to get caught up on, but I'm also it might seem a little redundant for you because I'm going to ask you a lot of questions that I probably asked before just to make sure everybody knows who you are and like some of the stories that you told before and get everybody up to date. But we're also going to hear about like some of the newer stuff that you've been up to. But I wanted to start with Tombstone because you did the podcast and so we kind of knew each other, and then we were in Tombstone together and it was the first ever, and again, this was like 2 years ago. I think it was 2023. It was the first ever annual, or it was about to be annual, paranormal convention in Tombstone, Arizona.
Yes, that sounds about right.
It was very cool. Like they gave us pretty much, the whole town was involved. Like the city people were into this. They were involved. They gave us like pretty much access to everything.
Yes.
We were at the cemetery in the middle of the night. We were in all of the bars. And I mean, I just felt like we had full reign of the OK Corral. We were in there investigating in the middle of the night, like by ourselves. Like it was so cool. It just felt very hands-on and all access for everybody that was there. Not just for me or other people, but it was for everyone. And it was so cool. And I got to meet you in person there and we had a really cool session, which we'll talk about too. But just tell me about how your overall Tombstone experience was that year.
It was very, very cool. Like you were saying, like you had access to everything. We even did a Masonic tour. We did a tour in the Masonic Lodge. I was like, what?
Wait.
That was so random.
Wait, I only got to go on the ground floor. Did you go? It's upstairs of the theater, right?
Yeah, so they allowed us upstairs and we got to see like a lot of like their old relics, and the historian talked about how like most of the buildings at one point burned down in Tombstone, and that's one of like the oldest buildings that survived. And I'm like, that's so cool. I didn't know that. So I always love talking to a historian or a Masonic historian because they know what's up in that local area more than even the tour guides do sometimes.
For sure. You know what happened? So I was doing a like Q&A type thing, a presentation thing with TAPS West Coast or West Coast TAPS. I always forget which way they say it. But anyway, you get the picture. We were doing like Q&A on the stage and I saw like a shadow. So for where I'm sitting, I'm on stage. There's like a backdrop behind us. I can't remember if it was like a curtain or like a screen or something, but there's something behind us. But I can see like through the crack, like backstage and stuff. Or side stage, I guess you would call it, but still backstage, if you know what I'm saying. And there was like I saw like a shadow thing go by, like a person go by. And I didn't really think that much of it, but I did glance over to see like what they were doing. Cause there's like a panel there that like you can adjust the lights or the curtains or whatever those buttons do. And so I thought maybe somebody was walking over to make an adjustment or something. So I glanced over. I didn't see anybody after that. And then afterwards, somebody said, "Did you see somebody behind the stage?" And I said, "Yeah, I think somebody was like going to do something with the panel or something." Like, there was nobody there, but they were like, "I saw you look," because I saw it too.
That's the best confirmation too, when a stranger, someone you don't know, experiences something like that with you.
Yeah.
I had something like that happen too.
And they weren't
Not there
on the
though.
stage. They weren't on the stage. They were sitting like front row or something like that, but they saw me look and they also saw it. And yeah, and I honestly didn't think anything of it. And I wasn't really
Yeah.
thinking paranormal. I just was thinking an assistant or somebody, doing stuff. And then they were like, "No, there's nobody backstage."
Isn't that interesting too? Like how, for the most part, right, when people think, oh, you believe in the paranormal, you think everything is a ghost. But sometimes, like, I gaslight myself a lot because I'm like, maybe it's an eye booger. Maybe it's like me seeing something like, somebody walking by, and then like somebody else, like a stranger, will like confirm that experience. And that's why I love talking about these things, because it confirms something that you otherwise would dismiss as just like a mundane someone walking by, or there's something in my eye type of thing.
Right. Yeah, that was a really cool experience. I mean, there was a lot of interesting experiences at Tombstone for me, but that was one of them. And it seems so small and like in comparison to some other things, but like you said, it's the validation that was there. And so that building, it's a theater on the bottom, but the top floor, there's a room upstairs where it's the Mason Lodge.
Yes.
And I think maybe you told me about it after the fact. And then and I think you might have introduced me to the person or the person's wife or something like that, or vice versa. And I was like, okay, next time I'm going to do that.
Oh yeah, because like the wife was like excited that people were interested in wanting to see the upstairs more. I think more so than her son, because her son was a Mason. And it was actually really cool when he walked us upstairs, because he was like, yeah, this stuff is open to the public, but our secrets, our rituals are not. I'm like, okay, yes, I see what you did there.
Yes. That's funny. My brother's a Mason. So, I know about I don't know, but I know about different Mason stuff. And I've gone to, he made Grandmaster Mason in San Francisco. So I was at the ceremony, and his wedding was at a Mason's Lodge in Virginia City, which is cool.
Oh,
so
wow.
we saw a whole, and it's totally different than any other kind of wedding. They sit on the north, south, east, and west. And then there's a thing in the middle, and you walk in a circle around the thing in the middle. And there was this whole thing. It was very interesting, very, very different than any other ceremony I've ever been to.
Yeah, and there's so many misconceptions with Masons. So my husband is a Mason too, and we went to Salem, and we also got to speak to a historian in Salem. I'm like, yeah, so he told us where the actual stuff happened. They didn't have as much stuff left over because the building burned down too. I'm like, what's up? Well, makes sense that things burn down over time because the heat and stuff. I'm like, dang, this is another lodge we went to where stuff burned down. But yeah, no, I really do like talking to Masons. I feel like they're so interesting and they're so knowledgeable. And especially with Tombstone, when he was talking about all kinds of stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I could talk to you for hours. Because I think that's really what intrigues me too about the paranormal is the history as well. And I always say ghost stories are history, and how do we unpeel the layers and get to the bottom of everything?
Yeah. And then, okay, so then we were at, like I said, lots of things. Did you do the mine? Going down into the mine?
No, I didn't do that one. No.
Okay. Well, I don't think you really missed anything. It's kind of cool being down there, but I wouldn't say that anything significant happened. But it's just we're down in a mine doing an investigation, which was kind of cool. And then the cemetery. Cool. Did you go out to the cemetery? Boothill?
Yeah, we had some crazy stuff happen at the cemetery.
Same. My REM pod would not stop squealing, and it was on top of oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the guy from the shootout.
Oh my God, yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I don't remember the name either. That was going to bother me.
I'm like, McLaughlin. No, it's everybody's probably yelling at the at the audio right now going, it's da-da-da. How did you not know that? But I just forget. Okay, so anyway, Billy Clayton, right?
That sounds familiar. I think so.
I had it on one of their graves like that. And we were asking questions, and it just would not stop. I mean, it
Wow.
would not stop. And so finally, I was just like, you know what, you guys, I'm just going to turn it off because this is not helping either
Yeah.
when they won't just stop touching it.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to do that, but we were just getting so much feedback. And somebody had the SLS camera out there too. And we were getting stick figures by it.
Whoa.
Yeah, really neat stuff. What did you get out there?
So I happened to do like a guided investigation with Hero and Sean Clen. They are Navajo paranormal investigators. Yeah, it
They
was
are
cool with
amazing.
them.
They are
Yeah,
amazing.
they
Yes,
are so cool.
I was there with them that night too. I was kind of doing my own thing off to the side, but they were doing the anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I would like jump into same thing. I would hear them out and hear what they were doing, and then I would bounce out and just walk around and try to feel what I was feeling. But like, if you guys ever have the opportunity to do anything with them, like you should, because there's a lot of ritualistic things that they do, but that is native, and it's just like I just find that stuff so fascinating. So they did this whole thing where like they started off making everyone do this like kind of like a protection ritual. He was wearing a mask, like a sacred mask. And then we talked about offerings afterwards. But so automatically I just felt, I don't know if you felt anything, but when they were doing their ritual, I was like, I feel like the earth, like this magnetic pull almost. Like it was a very interesting feeling already. But then as like the night progressed, because I have a polter script. It's kind of like the ovulus. And if you guys don't know, it's like receiving a text from a spirit. That's usually what I say.
I love that description.
Yeah, like receiving a text, you can see words. And yeah, they may not be fascinating, but what's fascinating is like how accurate or how in theme the words are popping out. They're very in theme with what's happening. So for example, for context, Hero, his name is David. I think like not his birth name, but like his other name, I guess. And then I think like Hero is like his practitioner name. So on the Polter script, it said David, and there was a pause, fight me. And I read it out loud, not knowing that like Hero's name is David, but he was right next to me. And he turned, he looked at me, he goes, "What did you say?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "David, fight me." And he looks at me and he's like, "Okay, everybody back away from me." And I'm like, "You're scaring me. What are you doing?" So we back away from him. And he said, "Okay, guys, just so you know, there's been a spirit here throughout the night that's been following me in different locations. And he's been saying, 'Fight me.' And it's not just here, but it also happens in other locations." And so he starts to educate us on how like, when it comes to like spirits or like trickster energy, they can try to overcome you and dominate you by, making you scared, right? So he said, "Okay, so I want everyone to just back away because I don't want anyone to feel affected by whatever is trying to come through." And so then he starts to challenge, like we're in the cemetery at night. He's like, "Okay, what's my real name?" And he starts like challenging the spirit back, like, "What's my real name?" And he starts speaking in like his Lakota language. And I'm just like, this is so interesting to see how he's taking back his power and showing people like when you show whatever's trying to scare you that you are strong and you're not afraid, like look what happens, it goes away. And you felt immediately when he was doing this whole thing, the energy just like it got cold, and then out of nowhere, just like you felt this gust of wind and everything just felt really quiet after he started challenging whatever was trying to come through. But I thought that was so interesting how, again, like he's like, something's just trying to like challenge me. And I'm like, what the heck? And I didn't know anything about him. So I don't know. That was an interesting confirmation.
Definitely. And they were so interesting to have there because I had never seen anything like that. They are very ritualistic. Like you said, the mass, they did the drum circle. I don't know if they call it a circle, but like a drumming thing. And and it was very, very interesting to see all of their rituals and the way they did things, and so different than the way other people are doing things,
Yes.
And I'm so bummed too because after I got back from that, I recorded an amazing podcast with them. I thought it was so good. I was so excited, and it never aired. I need to have them back on. Do you have their contact information?
I do. I know that Hero and Sean Clen they're not working together as much now. They have separate things.
Okay.
But I think Sean Clen has like a YouTube now and his podcast, and I think Hero's still doing what he's doing, but I think he's more like working with like his, as a practitioner. So I think that kind of makes sense why they kind of right now took a pause. But yeah, he's still active. No, yeah, to your point, they're so amazing. it's interesting because I did sync up with them too after after that event. And I was just so nervous. I'm like, I'm curious to see what they think about my practice and how I do things. But they were actually really kind and impressed. They're like, wait, how did you learn this and that? So for context, one of the things we talked about was, again, taking back your power. And so when I've been in situations where I'm scared or I feel I rarely feel scared now, but like in the beginning stages of like investigating and feeling unsure, feeling anxious, like I would play like K-pop music or pop music, like a playlist and
That's
just like
funny.
put my
Yeah.
AirPod on and just to like, just ground myself, like put myself in the moment and just feel relaxed. And they're like, wait, how did you learn that? Like, how did you know about music, banishing off bad things and stuff like that? I'm like, I don't know. Like my mentor told me about it a long time ago. And I just I used it more as a modern way of like, okay, what's my go-to playlist right now that makes me happy no matter what? And so, again, if anyone has any bad hauntings or bad experiences, music is a way to ground yourself.
I didn't know that. I actually didn't
Yeah.
know that. But it's interesting because when I was younger and I would watch like a scary movie, one of the things that would like get me not so scared anymore were actually watching commercials. Like even if it was like a VHS tape, let's say, or a DVD or whatever, afterwards, if I just like watch like a Tide commercial or like whatever, like I felt like grounded again. I felt like, oh, okay, everything's okay. Like I got rid of the bad energy. And I feel like there's a similarity to that.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I know like he's more like obviously a traditional with his practice, which I respect. So he was just like making jokes like, wait, is that your warrior music is K-pop?
Yeah.
Maybe
Why not?
for now, for now it is, but commercial too, because it's familiar, grounds you. It takes you to a moment of like, yeah, this is me in my home. I'm in my safe space. And commercials is like a very passive way of just like, that you're home and you're just unwinding. And so why not? Why not commercial music too?
Yeah, and they're usually very like kind of colorful and cheerful, like commercials usually, especially
Yeah.
back like talking about in my childhood. So we're talking like the 80s and stuff,
Yeah.
so they're very colorful and cheery type of things. Okay, so one of the other things that happened while we were there is we were investigating in one of the bars, and we did several of the bars, so I forget which
Yes.
one this actually was.
Oriental Saloon.
You remember?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had been in there earlier in the day interviewing the bartender about like paranormal activity that happened in there and that she's experienced. So I kind of knew like this is definitely active in here and a lot of people have had experiences in here. And it was really late. I remember when we went in there and I feel like the energy was low, but
Mhm.
a cool thing that was happening was you and your husband did this whole thing and I was like into it. Like I was like so watching and like taking notes and like telling everybody, guys, check this out. You kind of just did it. It wasn't like, oh, here, we're going to do this and everybody watch. You kind of just like did it on your own and other people were okay to go do other things and stuff. But I was like, wait, everybody needs to like watch what's going on here. Can you explain like what you were doing and the type of stuff you got?
Yeah, well, and to like preface this is that we walked in there too. And we didn't know what was going on, but I'm like, okay, we're just gonna do our solo thing too then. And one of the things that my husband and I were trying to challenge ourselves with during this trip was to less relying on visual sensory and more like intuition. What do you feel? What are the downloads? And we felt like this was a great time to do it since like the whole town is haunted, right? Like everything is up for grabs. So, I remember that he basically was blindfolded. So first I told him, I said, okay, I think automatically we walked in, we knew that he was the one that felt more in tune because that will happen sometimes where, I know people may agree or disagree, but at least in my experience, spirits will be more attuned to my husband because he's a guy. Maybe there's some familiarity as a spirit with like a guy channeling. He's also like a white guy. I am brown. So maybe some of these like spirits might still be racist in the afterlife. It does happen. They're also sexist too, right? I've been called names.
Yes, especially in Tombstone. It's bad there.
Yeah.
The spirits, not the people, the spirits.
Yeah, the spirits. Because even like the Navajo brothers said that they had to several times use their native language to talk to the indigenous spirits since like they wouldn't get anything otherwise. So I was like, okay, that's a good point because I'm noticing Carl feels way more sensitive. He is feeling more things than I am. And at times I'm like, I'm not getting anything, but he would start just like blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even get that. So anyway, so when we were in the Oriental Saloon, he sat down, we had a notebook, and I started writing things down. I had my oracle cards out. He was blindfolded. And like, I know I had a few pieces of equipment that I put, he didn't know where, but it was kind of cool because then you guys came when he was already blindfolded and you guys started setting up a lot more other cool stuff around too. And so the thing is I said, Carl, like if I'm not telling you where I put anything, but if you feel anything, try to tell me where the spirit is at. So that was something that we did talk about prior, but I reminded him during this mini session that we were doing. And he said the bar, and like the cat ball lit up at the bar right when he said that. And I was like, oh my God. So you are really like feeling where they are without your eyes are closed. Yeah, you can hear, but it's like, again, the bar was far away from where we were sitting at. It was like
Yeah.
almost in a different room.
Right.
So that was a really cool experience. So going forward, we were like, okay, we're going to try to continue doing that. And then we would end up doing it at another location here in LA. But I think that's like the coolest thing ever being a medium is like when you really tap into your inner senses without like the visual and seeing if you can connect. Like, where are they? Where are they trying to talk to you from? Because we now do that when we investigate with other people where we can tell when a spirit is trying to come through a piece of equipment. Like at the Pioneer Saloon in Nevada recently, we're like, oh my God, they're trying to talk to us through the spirit box. And then someone said Chris, like through the spirit box. They're like, Chris. I was like, oh my God. So we're kind of cracking the code now, working with both our intuition and equipment.
Yeah. Well, it was fascinating to watch because it was like you said, being very sexist. And it was like, why are these women here? I forget
Mm-hmm.
how it was all coming out, but it was like they were very like confused why women were in the bar. And because
Yep.
it was like a gambling hall and stuff too. And there was
Yes.
something about cards and gambling. And yeah, I just remember it being fascinating because it was so right on with where we were and what we were doing. And it was just really interesting to watch.
And even Carl's like dialect changed a little bit too. And I almost feel like he was like, in a way, like, I know some people are like, oh, I would never do, oh gosh, when you're in a very super meditative state of mediumship. And I understand that, right? And he wasn't completely out. Like he was still aware that we were in this moment and like he was seated by a table, but he almost felt he was going into a trance almost, he said. And his dialect changed. I could tell like
Well,
the way he was talking. And I was like, oh yeah, you're really tapping into this guy, but I think I'm going to tap you out now because I don't think you want to go too far into, being in that trance.
it was really interesting. There was some good things. And then I didn't go last year. They had it again last year, but then I heard that something happened and now they're not doing it anymore.
Same. I heard the same thing that they're not. I went to 29 Palms recently, and there was a lady there that also had gone to Tombstone, and yeah, she confirmed the same thing that she's like they're not doing anything this year. I think last year was the last time that they did anything. But that needless, well, I'll say this. I also heard though that a lot of the owners in Tombstone are very welcoming. So if you ever do want to go and like talk to the owners about like ghost stories or anything, from what I understood, some of them are pretty open anyway. So they embrace that side.
The whole town was very,
Yeah.
very open. And I don't know what happened the second year. I heard that something happened and it made them like be like, we
Oh,
can't do this anymore. And it
bummer.
sounded like maybe like people were being disrespectful or something like that. That's the tone I got. I don't know exactly what happened, but it's too bad. And I talk about here
Yeah.
all the time about like respecting people's property, respecting the spirits, respecting the story and the history of things. And
Hmm.
so I hope that's not what
Yeah.
it was, but I have a feeling.
Yeah, that's a good point because there was this one, okay, so I'm not going to say who, what, where, but there was this one saloon that there was a group doing a guided investigation in there. And it was like, look, I don't care like being part of a guided investigation, but one thing I will say is that it does suck when like that person who is the host, right? Like that group or those individuals are hosting and they don't really give the chance to like include the people who are spectating. Like, hey, do you want to ask questions? Hey, what do you feel? Because like it felt really weird where like they were just with the equipment. They weren't really like including other people. Like, because there was other people that were excited and wanting to have input and they weren't really just standoffish. So like me and Carl went off to our distance. We started doing like oracle cards again, doing our little thing. And the owner saw that. And she was actually more interested in what we were getting than what they were doing. Because she could tell like they're not including the people there. They paid money to do this and they're not even interacting with the people there. And I kind of felt bad because it's like, I don't know. Like, I understand if you have expensive equipment, you don't want people, a stranger maybe handling it. That I understand. But also, like, if they're trying to talk to you and they're trying to, like, have a conversation and ask questions, like, you should want to engage too.
Right.
So it was a little weird. So maybe, I mean, I'm not saying it's exactly that, but it could, maybe that could be also an influence. But yeah, the lady that was there, she saw what we were doing. She's like, I want you guys to come back. Please come back. And I was like, yeah, we'll try to come back. And, because again, I was telling her, I was like, yeah, this is what we got. And, you know, it's kind of already like in sync with what they're getting with the equipment anyway. But I don't know. I think she wanted a balance from what I was noticing from the owner.
Well, it's so cool to see different people's styles, different people's method, other people's equipment. Like, I love like watching other people investigate and like learning from that. Have you been to any other ghost towns like that? I know you said that you went to the Pioneer in Nevada.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
That was so cool. So last weekend I went to Pioneer Saloon. It's near Primm, Nevada, so on the border between California and Nevada. And we got actually a chance to stay at the Buffalo Bill casino area, even though it's closed down. So if you guys want to stay there, you can, but there has to be like a concert or something happening there.
I saw somebody do a video on that place, and it's so creepy that it's closed now and you can still stay there. It's creepy.
Yes. We walked around the next day after, like before we checked out. I was like, okay, I need to do something. And I also did a mini little like channeling session there too, because I felt energy there. But yeah, so we went to the Pioneer Saloon. It's about 20 minutes from Primm. And it's one of the oldest saloons in the area. I think it's like one of the few surviving too. And apparently, like, I was hearing the owners talk about this, but they also made it in like the top most haunted places. And it also beat like the haunted museum in Nevada. I was like, whoa, that's a big statement.
Yeah. Wow.
And also I did a panel with Jay from Ghost Adventures. So he was there too. So like, you know, he was hearing the whole spiel and the history on it too. But he didn't do the investigation with us, but he did like watch because he was also curious how we were doing things. And but anyway, so the saloon was interesting because they allowed us to investigate like the original part of the saloon. And then there was a bar, which I guess the bar area was imported from another location, I think Louisiana or something like that. And I don't know about this. I didn't know about anything about this place, to be honest. Like, I knew this is where I was going, but I don't like to do a whole deep dive before I go because I rather see what I pick up and then like either confirm it with whoever's there. So when we got there, we noted, like, I felt immediately like a man was like, again, not happy. I think he was like, I felt too that he was shot or murdered. And he kept talking about his lucky coin. And I'm like, what? Why are you showing me his lucky coin? And so I tell Austin, who is the one that's hosting this like panel and the investigation. And he's like, oh, interesting. He's like, I think you're talking about Mr. Butter. I forgot his name, Butter, Mr. Butter Smith or something like that. And maybe I got the name wrong. Sorry, guys. Anyways.
He's going to come haunt you now. He's like, that's not my name.
My name. And so, but then Austin's like, wait, there's this guy that's not very nice. He doesn't like talking to people. And he's also very much like protective of his stuff. And he took me over to where there's still the bullet holes in the wall from where supposedly he was shot. I was like, what? That's wild. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And so they also allowed us in the other part of the saloon. It's not part of the actual building. You have to walk across their little courtyard, and it's like a little shop where you can buy like merchandise and snacks and stuff. And so we got the most activity. Oh gosh, the whole night it started off really good, and then towards the end, some people got really scared. Okay, so how do I start this? Okay, so they put one of the girls, her name is Danielle. She runs her own ghost tour. She's very sweet. She has a lot of cool equipment. Speaking of equipment, I'm like, oh, wow, you have a lot of cool stuff. She put a Ouija board in the old part of the saloon, like the oldest part, the original part. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And then the equipment, REM pods, K2 meters was in the bar area, the little dining area. And we kind of rotated between both areas. And when they turned off the lights, Carl's like, nope, he's trying to talk to me. He's trying to talk to me. And right when he said that, the K2 meter started going off behind him. And everyone looked at him and they saw the K2 meter. I'm like, yep, this is my husband. He's pretty good at like picking up on these like spirits that don't want to talk to me. So we noticed that. And then it was weird because wherever Carl would go, at least like what I noticed at least, where we would go is like I could tell the K2 meter was slowly going off. And keep in mind, I'm aware that electronics can make these things go off. So he wasn't even like putting his phone near that. I always say it's best to turn off things personally, like turn off your phone. But, some people don't. That's fine. But so we were kind of noticing a small little trend of that. Like wherever he was, like there's something was going off. And so then as like the night progressed, people were starting to use the Ouija board. And again, definitely somebody that's like, I'm not afraid of Ouija boards. I think that if people are going to use divination tools like tarot, pendulums, and talking boards, always be cautious, do your rituals. Like tarot does a ritual before you start reading with tarot, and same with pendulums. I call it like a mini prayer if you want, whatever is to your comfort and belief system, I say, but still do something. So you're setting like the intention, you're clearing your energy before you use these things. I'm also a little bit different where I also even do a thing with my equipment. Like I always protect and seal my equipment before and after.
Oh.
Yeah. So nothing that I don't want talking to me comes through. Maybe that's why I've never had a bad experience. I don't know. But so anyway, like people were using it and you can just tell that the energy started getting more and more like, I don't know, I guess it felt like stuffy. I don't know if you ever had that experience, like the more you use the equipment and the night progresses, it starts to feel more stuffy and there's like, you feel more activity in the air, but that's what it started to feel like.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so either people are more into it now because we're starting to use everything, or maybe there's just more visitors from the other side coming through now wanting to talk to us. So anyway, everyone left that room. We're back in the bar area. We go to the shop. We do a little, like I started doing readings with tarot. So like the whole group, we would just throw tarot out, like yes or no questions. It was a really fun experience through that. But in that room, we did the Estes method. And remember how I said I got the man with the lucky coin?
Yeah.
So in the Estes method, someone kept saying, my money, it's a secret. My coin. I was like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we did get like a spirit in there that was very secretive for sure, though. Like, it was interesting. And people started putting money on the bar in the shop. Because again, we got the lucky coin, like, okay, the spirit really wants money. So we started putting like a little pile of coins and pennies and it would get active. And then as soon as we would stop, like the activity would stop, like the spirit don't want to talk to us. So I feel like he only wanted to talk to us if we gave him money.
Yeah, if you're gambling with me. I'm only here to gamble. If you're not going to do that with me, get out.
Yes. I was like, okay, guys, this guy is really frugal. So don't talk to him unless you have money. So after that, we went back into the main area where there's a bar and all the equipment. And immediately, like, me and Carl went off to the room where they had the talking board, the Ouija board. No one was in there, but Carl started to feel like, oh no, I'm starting to feel like whatever they were talking to through the talking board is trying to come through the spirit box. And we heard the name Chris out loud right when he said that. I was like, oh my God.
And who is Chris?
We don't know.
Oh.
We don't know. Yeah, he just came through. We're like,
okay.
Chris, what? We were trying to chat, like talk more, but we go back to this whole thing when there's more people and there's different equipment. Sometimes it's hard to balance both the equipment. And I think that's the hard part as a medium when you work with people that they might be more loyal to equipment, which I understand, right? Like it's visual. It's like a confirmation for people that use it. Mm-hmm. But I think they were more trying to like wait to see what was coming through that. But like Carl was trying to like warn them like, hey, someone's trying to come through. The spirit box would say something. And then he was trying to tell somebody there, like, I'm not trying to scare you guys. He's like, but I think that like the talking board or the Ouija board wasn't closed correctly. And like the person's like, well, I've been doing this for however many years. I know what I'm doing. He's like, I'm not doubting you, but like, and right when he was about to finish his sentence, the spirit box said, listen. So basically listen to Carl.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, you can't make this up. And so we have it on footage too, like on video where it's like they're going back and forth and he's like, well, I'm not second guessing you. And then right listen like really loud. It was like the clearest thing you could hear. And that's when like we're like, okay, we got to close the Ouija board, I guess. So they closed it. And what was happening here was that we were using so many things and there's so many people. And I think that's sometimes like the hard part navigating when people can be scared. People can like, maybe they might have energy that's lingering with them, but it just kind of becomes very stuffy, right? And so what I was telling people is like, look, I think even if you think you're closing it correctly and whether it's equipment or divination stuff, like they're still going to come through like a spirit box or the REM pod or whatever to try to get your attention. So even if you close this, so I really think that whatever we were talking to was like, no, talk to me. And it was like trying to come through other means. But here's the thing though, I was warned when I did my tarot reading that if we are not careful, that there was going to be a spirit that was going to come through to try to trick people. And sorry, I'm laughing because it's just like, I'm so like surprised and like, I'm always at wow. I'm never not surprised or what's the word? I'm never not at awe with this stuff. I'm always like, whoa, that really happened,
Yes.
Even as a medium, even like doing this for 10 years, right? Like over 10 years. I was trying to tell the investigative group, like, do you want me to tell you what I'm getting on the tarot card before we begin doing this? No, tell me later. I was like, okay. So then as the night got worse and, again, like people started feeling anxious, then the talking board thing happened. Then everyone's like, oh, nope, we don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to scare anybody. It's just that the spirit is trying to like trying to talk to us. And I don't know what it is. And it doesn't feel like we know this person or we don't know what this is. And I can't even see him. Carl just knows that we have to close. Like he's hearing from his team, his spiritual team, we have to close it. And it was interesting when it said listen, because I think that, at least in my opinion, I think that was one of Carl's like either his spirit guides or like another spirit that there in the saloon, like careful, whatever's trying to come through does not want to be nice. That's what people are feeling anxious. So anyway, we ended up closing everything, but that's when I told one of the people there, I'm like, yeah, so this is what I got in the tarot to be careful. And he's like, oh crap, I should have listened to you guys sooner. Oh, it's okay. I get it.
And
yeah.
Your husband, Carl, he's also a psychic medium then? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, he's also a psychic medium.
Did I remember this right? And sorry if I'm confusing it with something else, but did you guys meet in like a paranormal, what do you call it? Like a circle or like a retreat thing or something? Okay, I thought so. Tell people about that.
Yes. Okay. So it was 2014 when I met Carl. So I met him in a psychic development circle and we have the same mentor and everything. And so now we run our own psychic circle here in LA. So it's been a full, no pun intended, full circle moment.
And that was in Denver, right?
Yes. Yeah. So if anyone's ever in Denver, please check out Charles Cox, COX. That's his last name, Charles with a COX. And his psychic circles, he's the person that's been doing it for the longest. He's a spiritual minister. He retired now, but he's been doing this. He's 60 plus years old. He's been doing this since his teens, I think. So he's great.
Yeah. I know sometimes people, on my other podcast, like Girls Next Level, some people, we used to do like this advice section and people would be like, how do I meet people? And I said, find like a group that you're interested in, like your hobby that you're interested in. If it's paranormal investigating, find like a paranormal group that gets together, whether they investigate or like you said, like a psychic circle or whatever. And find people that have the same interests as you and are enjoy doing things. I feel like you're the perfect example of that happening.
Yeah, I always say it to people because I know we're so saturated with information online and that, and on one hand, it's great, right? I feel like it's built a community with especially paranormal. There's so many, since 2020, I've met so many amazing people that love this stuff. But on the other hand, I think what really empowers this community is real life interaction. And so I always tell people, if you move to a town, go to your local, occult shop. The owners are more likely to know so many people in that community that live in that area. I work a lot with a Crooked Path in Burbank, and they know so many amazing people. One of the owners referred me to another person, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. So I feel like that's part of community. And then also, if you don't know which witchy shop to go to in your area, meetup.com. It's also an app. It's literally like a platform built around finding people that are in the same interests. Like if you want to find a hiking group, Denver had a lot of those like hiking groups,
Yeah.
and I would join those as well, or meditation groups. So it's not just like one thing. There's a lot of different meetups that you can join. There's even like a corgi meetup. I have a dog, a corgi. So
Oh my God, that's so
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
I
So
did
things like
not
that.
know that.
So yeah.
Well, since you brought up the Crooked Path, tell me about it because you said you've done investigations there before. I've been there once. I recorded a podcast there one time. But and I did get like a little tour and a little bit of the history, but tell me about the Crooked. Well, tell the listeners what the
Yeah.
Crooked Path is and like what happened, like the history a little bit and what people experience there.
Yeah. So, okay. So the Crooked Path is a metaphysical occult shop in Burbank. They've been around for a very long time. One of the owners, Sal, he is a practitioner. So they also have like a coven there, and they also have a temple, a Hecate temple. So if you are in that realm of things, like that's a perfect place. But also they sell all kinds of like, goodies like books, tarot, crystals. They even have like necklaces, like protection amulets, things like literally anything you can think of. And if
Mhm.
you can't find it, like they can probably make you something. um, anyway, so I've been working with them for a little over, me and Carl have been working with them for a little over 2 years now, which is just crazy to think about. They're amazing partners to have. And so we've been doing our psychic circles there and we do seances there. What's so fascinating is that um, Popey, she's the other owner. And I remember telling her, I said, when I first walked into the shop before I started working with you guys, I was in the little tarot book area of your store with like the bookcases. It's right by the bathroom as well. And I remember feeling like, oh, there's something here. There's something right here. And I sense it. And I felt like I was being watched in that room particularly. And then Popey's like, we actually have footage in the CC or security camera of a book just falling out of nowhere, just across, like just falling across the room. I was like, what? And she showed it to me. So that was an interesting confirmation to have. And then I know we've done our seances. So I haven't really had a chance to do an investigation, but we've done seances. So we do pick up on the spirits that when we do our seance, they'll come and say hi to us.
Yeah.
So the first seance we ever did, we did it upstairs, and everybody was like, they felt like somebody was upstairs walking around, but there was no one else upstairs. We were all at the table, and we kept hearing like somebody walking up there. And then it went silent for a little bit, and apparently, it went silent for a while. Downstairs, Popey was downstairs, and stuff started falling off the shelves. She was getting activity. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, Popey. They came downstairs. I didn't mean to send them off to you. So we definitely feel like there's like a spirit there for sure. There are, I know with the temple, people can correct me. I don't know too much about Hecate, but from what I understood, she is like the god of the underworld and like a death, and she is like a guide in that way, and all kinds of other things too. So again, correct me if I'm wrong. If you want to add your input, that's okay too. I'm not claiming to be a specialist with her, but a lot of people tell me that she deals with a lot of those themes. So I don't know. That part of me is like, I wonder if like other people that visit the temple, they might just like talk to her, and maybe that might bring some energy from that. I don't know.
Right. Interesting. Do they still have the snake there?
They do. Yes. They have the snake there. They also have so we've used this before during our seances, and it's only allowed in the shop. And I've been really grateful that they let me use this, but they have a like electronic Ouija board, and we've used it in our seance, and it's gone pretty accurate on some things. It's really wild.
That is so cool. I knew somebody else. I did an investigation in Florida one time and they had an electronic Ouija board too. And I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah, it's like the coolest thing ever. So we used it. This was so during the seance, I'm trying to remember which one it was. We've done a few different ones, but and I can't remember how recent. I feel like they're all blurry now. But basically, there was a lady there, and I think it was like her brother that had passed. And I already had picked up on that. So I was like telling her about that. And then we took out the Ouija board. And I forgot what she asked it a question about her brother. Well, first we asked if he was there, and it said yes. After I had I confirmed it. Then we got the Ouija board out, and it said yes. I was like, oof. And then she asked another question about him, and she started crying because she felt like it was pretty accurate to like a detail about him. So that was pretty interesting to witness that. And we go back to the whole thing of like how it's so interesting using divination and intuition and the equipment. Like it's such a cool thing to see how they work together.
Right. When you say you guys do these psychic circles and stuff there, what does that mean? Like if somebody wanted to do that, what would they be signing up for? Like what happens there?
Yeah, so we do our psychic circles usually on the first floor, not upstairs. So if people have ever been there, you'll know that there's an upstairs. It's a lot smaller, but they have a big area downstairs where it's more spacious. So we sit in a circle with chairs, and in the middle of the circle, there's a table with like a candle, and we turn off the lights. So there's candles everywhere throughout our circle. And really, we're just like in almost close to pitch darkness, but with the exception of the candles. So we do a meditation. We're not allowed to break the circle. We have to stay seated throughout the whole session because we believe that if you break the circle, the energy that we have manifested in there will unplug, kind of like a bathtub, right? Where you unplug the cork and all the water goes down the drain.
Yeah.
So we remain seated, we meditate, and really it's just developing our psychic abilities. So it's giving and receiving messages. Once you're in the circle, a lot of people feel their energy elevate more, or they feel like a different energy. And that's because we're all connected with each other's energy. So it's supposed to, for some people, it might be a little bit harder to read. For some, like they feel like, oh my God, I feel recharged. I can read. I can like feel the energy. And that's really what it is. It's like navigating that energy and like understanding your intuition in that. But we've had some really amazing experiences with new people where there's this one lady, she was like, okay, sorry, I forgot to mention this one part of the circle. So on top of just giving and receiving messages with our intuition, we don't use like equipment or anything like that. It's literally just like reading the energy. So with your clairs as well. And we'll do this thing where we leave pieces of paper on the table and you write a question down. And then you fold it up and you don't know who it belongs to. It's anonymous. But you do channel the piece of paper without reading it. So like I mentioned, we're in complete darkness. So you cannot read what's in the paper. You just grab the piece of paper and then you like give the message based on what you're feeling. And then we pass the candle around and then you get to read the question after what you said. So this was really cool. This lady came in and she was like, I don't know, I'm new. I don't really like do this stuff, but like all I got was fix it. And we're like, okay, that's fine if that's all you got. So she opens up the piece of paper, we give her the candle, and it says, like, what do I need to do for my job? And the lady said, the girl, her name is Kat. She goes, that's my paper. I wrote that question down. I'm a nurse. I fix things. Like, that's how I explain my job. I fix things. I fix people. So I think the message was, you just got to keep fixing things.
Yeah.
And like and the girl who was new, she's like, really? I got something? And she was like so surprised. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it works. Like when you're not thinking about it, you don't know, and you just allow yourself to just repeat what's coming to you without thought. Like that's the message.
Yeah. Well, that's the hardest part is like trusting your thoughts, that they're not just your thoughts, that they're thoughts that are coming through that are representing something. Because I know for me, like I probably hear all kinds of stuff, but I just like write it off. And I'm like, no, that's just me thinking that, or that's just me saying that. It really is hard to like just go with your gut and like just say what you're thinking because it might be something. And if it's not, it's not. But I think people get embarrassed or like feel like, for me, it's not even embarrassed. It's more just like not trusting.
Yeah. Well, that's what the psychic circle is perfect for because like we always like tell people like even if like because we've had situations including myself where it's like the person I'm giving the message to, they're like, this doesn't make sense. But then 2 weeks later they'll come back and they'll be like, actually what you said made so much sense. So the one for me that I was like I was not breaking through, there's this one guy and he wrote down on a piece of paper like, what do I need to do or what do I need to like what he was asking about, like his move, because I guess he was moving to Portland. He was leaving LA, moving to Portland, and he was like, I think he was asking the question, like, what do I need to prepare for? What do I need to remember before I leave LA? And so I said to him, look, this is so random. And I didn't even know what he wrote on the piece of paper, but I said to him, I keep seeing the urban legend or like the folklore of Bluebeard. And he was looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I was like, whoop, well, I messed this one up. But I gave him a whole thing. I'm like, I don't know. I just keep getting that this person is trying to tell you about this folklore of Bluebeard and like just to not forget. And he just looked at me like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, then 2 weeks later, he comes up to me and he's like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, what? He goes, that message. And he takes out his phone. He shows me a picture of this like tarot card and like the corner is ripped off, but it's Bluebeard. And he said that it was like a deck that I think his uncle gave him. So his uncle had passed away, and I guess he was using the tarot deck because like he was missing a few cards and some of them were ripped. So he used them as like bookmarks. So he had used that one as a bookmark in his journal when he wrote down his goals. So it was like pointing like, don't forget these goals. And Bluebeard was the tarot card that was the bookmark.
Wow.
Yeah. And here I am in the circle like, oh man, I flopped this one. And so the message is like, even if it doesn't make sense, it might. It's just sometimes like we as people, we might not forget things. Like our memory isn't perfect either, right? Like sometimes we need to like jog our memory. So like don't feel bad because it could make sense later down the road. And it so happened for him, it made sense when he packed everything up and found that bookmark.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I also have in my notes that when we recorded the last time, you told me a story about like an entity that was mimicking your sister's voice.
Ooh, yeah.
Will you tell that story? You're like,
Yes.
ooh.
Yes. So when I always forget how old I was. I think I always say between the ages of like maybe 7 to 9-ish. But for people who don't know, I'm a millennial. I lived in the era before cell phones. So I was living in this house in Minnesota, northern Minneapolis to be exact. And we were living in this house where the second floor used to be an attic. It wasn't even like a second floor. They just added that floor in there. So there's still original parts of the attic left over in parts of the second floor. And it's going to be important because it gets weirder as like I undig the story. So anyway, one night, this was like in the 90s, late 90s. And my sister was working at a Chuck E. Cheese like 45 minutes away. And again, no cell phones. So I don't even think we could afford a tape recorder at the time, to be honest. Like, I think those were expensive back then too. Like things like that, those are like luxury items. Like you can't,
Right.
you have budget for that. So, we didn't have AC running. We had the window open. So anyway, we had the window open and I hear my sister, Erica, who's working at this Chuck E. Cheese, say my name 3 different times. And then I look at my other sister who's cleaning the closet because I'm about to go to bed. And Dahlia, my sister who's there, looks at me. We both look at each other. I'm like, did you hear that? And Dahlia's like, yeah, I think it's Erica, right? I'm like, yeah. So we walk to the window. And again, we heard somebody like Erica, right, say my name 3 times. And so no one's out there. We check outside. We check the garage. We check everywhere throughout the house. And I'm panicked. I'm like, what if something bad happened to Erica? Because we're thinking like, what if someone kidnapped her or took her or something? I don't know. So we call her job and her boss answers the phone and he's like, is this an emergency? I'm like, yes. Like, we need to confirm if Erica's there. So he passes the phone to her and she's cleaning the bathroom and she sounds annoyed. Like, I just want to get out of here. Why are you guys calling me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I look at Dolly. I'm like, what just happened? So then like fast forward, 2020, I'm doing a live stream on TikTok and I call my sister on a live stream. We start talking about this experience. And for context, I'm calling Dahlia, who was there. And I'm telling the story and she's like, actually, she said my name 3 times. I'm like, what? Really? I heard her say my name. She's like, no. But we did agree that it was Erica, that we heard Erica's voice 3 times, but we just heard our own name, if that makes sense. So I really think that whatever was trying to get our attention, clearly, like, not only was they mimicking my sister's voice, but they were trying to get our attention by just using our names. And so we start talking about that house. And then what else happened? Okay, yeah. So then I'm talking about my dream, how like I would have like this weird dream with this man. And I'm describing this man with like a flannel shirt, like he has like salt and pepper, like hair and a beard. And like my sister's like, wait a minute. I had a dream about that same guy who like it creeped me out because like I mentioned earlier, how the second floor used to be the attic. I used to go into the old part of the second floor where it was not finished. It looked like the attic still. And my sister always thought it was really creepy that I would play there by myself. And she's like, come out here. It's dusty in there. And why do you want to go in there? I'm like, I don't know. But she had a dream of the man in that room with me. And he was like, I'm going to take Steffany away. So I'm like, was it the spirit mimicking? Was it like, I don't know, like what could it be? I will say on a positive note, my mentor, she thinks on a positive spin that the day that we heard my sister being like calling our names, she thinks that maybe it could have been like a guardian angel looking out for her and like us taking the time to call her and like wait, like, buying some time of her, buying a little bit of her time before she walks out to the parking lot or something could have prevented like a car crash or something bad happening or something. That's what she thinks on a positive note. I'm like, oh, yeah, I kind of like that. But
Interesting. Yeah. Was that house where you experienced this stuff, did it have activity, or was it just like in the dream and this weird mimicking thing this one time?
So it's interesting because like since I was a kid and I was such a scaredy cat back then, I don't remember everything, but I believe, okay, so the interesting note, when we moved out of that house, because we were renting out that house from my uncle. So when we left that house, we actually had another family, like other relatives move into that house temporarily. And I was telling the story again, like on a live stream. And my cousin that lived in that house said that that house always gave her like the heebie-jeebies. So hearing my story, like weirded her out even more, but I never got to follow up with her about her experiences there. But she was like, oh my God, that tracks because that house was so creepy. I'm like, really? Oh my God. So
That's
I don't know.
interesting. When did you know that you were a psychic medium, or is it something that you had to work on and develop?
So I was like an atheist for a while. Like I was a skeptic, atheist. I didn't believe in anything. I think between the ages of like 18 and like 20 years old. So around 20, I started to like, I had a weird experience with a psychic, and she was like, "You need to like dive into this because you have abilities. You're very sensitive to things." And she started like telling me about my personality and like things that tracked. And so that's kind of what happened with me. So like I kind of like I'm not the type of medium that has like that cool story where like I was gifted at a young age. Like that's not
Yeah.
me. Cool if it is for other mediums. I know sometimes some other mediums have that story and that's cool.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, no, I was actually atheist. I was agnostic. I didn't know what I believed in. And then I knew I had weird experiences. I just didn't know what it was. And then I had an experience with a medium and I couldn't explain that. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to try to like really see if this is real or not. And through that experience, I started to develop my abilities and got to see from a perspective of like, wow, like there are actual people that want to develop this and this is how they do it. And it's not this beautiful story of like, I woke up with these gifts. It was like, there's people in these circles that want to tap into it.
Well, I think that's fascinating because so many people are just born with it. I mean, I guess everyone's born with it to a certain extent, but like there are so many psychic mediums that have had it their whole life. And yes, they have to work on it to like get it to where it is. But they always say, oh, anybody can learn it. Anybody can do it. You just have to put in the work and stuff. And I feel like that's you. Like you wanted to learn it and you put in the work, and that gives hope for everybody else out here who's like, okay, wait, I wasn't born with this. I don't know if I can do this. Like you can. You can do it.
Yeah. Because it's kind of like, I always say like the Harry Potter analogy where it's like, I think that's why Harry Potter was so one of the elements of why Harry Potter was popular back then was that like we got to see like the tale of the wizard. It's not just like this powerful wizard that happened overnight. Like we've seen a lot of these stories in Disneyfied movies and stuff like that. It's Harry Potter was like showing you like there's a journey and how to become a powerful wizard. And
Yeah.
so I think I like that more, even if it's not as cool as like I woke up with these gifts. Like, yeah, I wish that was me, but like, like it wasn't. The journey was tough, though. I will say that because there were times where I was like, man, I'm not getting anything. I feel dumb. And then I would come back a week later, and all of a sudden I'm like, blah 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 in these circles. And my mentor would tell me like, yeah, sometimes you're the battery. Sometimes you sit in a circle and you get nothing. You're just the battery. We call you the battery of the circle. That's what you feel drained after you leave, but everyone else is getting messages. And sometimes you're talking and maybe other people are the battery. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense actually. I didn't even
That's
think about it like that.
interesting. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have either. So you went to Glen Tavern Inn recently, right? And you went with Yvette from Backstage Bruja?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Tell me about, okay, first of all, I ran into you too, but at the Conjuring premiere, I ran into you
Yes.
and Yvette. And for those that don't know who Yvette is the owner and designer of a store called the Backstage Bruja, and she does like the cutest
Yes.
handbags and like dresses and sweaters and like just all kinds of stuff. You have to go check out her shop. It's really, really cute. And she said that the Glen Tavern Inn reached out to her and wanted her to come and see if she wanted to do an investigation. She was like, girl, I've never done that kind of stuff. I don't do that kind of thing. Like, I'm scared. And I was like, oh no, it'll be fun. Like, I've been to Glen Tavern before, and it's a cool place. Like, you'll love it. But then I was talking to you and you said you went with her. So tell me how that all went and what you guys experienced.
So yeah, she was talking to the owner, and she's like, "Oh, I know a perfect person that would want to come." And so I went with her, and I was like, "Okay, are we going to do an investigation?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm so nervous." To your point, she's like, "I'm not into."
Yeah.
But it's so bizarre because even though she was not into it, we got so much crazy activity. So they put us in one of the rooms that's supposed to be really haunted, but we didn't. It's interesting. I didn't get that anything is like attached to that room. Like I feel like that room might be more like the revolving door where like maybe things might stop by and say hi, but I'm not getting much activity. At least for me, I wasn't getting much activity. Needless to say, you do feel stuff there though, like in that room. It wasn't until we got to the end of the opposite direction. So there's 308 and I think 306 or 307 is supposed to be like really haunted. We got some interesting energy in that area, but where it really like escalated was the lobby. So at around midnight, we went to the lobby. No one was there. We had it to ourselves. And we were sitting down and I was telling her like I use a combination of divination tools, equipment. So we're using a pendulum and I'm showing her how to do the pendulum and like how I do it. And I know not everyone cares about that stuff. That's fine. But I just wanted her to experience a little bit of everything since it's like her first time really just like, really using equipment. And I just wanted to like help her with whatever she felt comfortable with. And I don't know where, well, actually, I'll start in there. Sorry, let me go back. So she's using the pendulum and out of nowhere, she drops the pendulum because she's like, it's moving by itself. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're probably swinging it. She's like, no, it's moving by itself. And she's like freaking out. And I have it on camera. The pendulum started moving on her lap by itself. And like it
Wait,
was
it
like
was sitting
turning.
on her lap?
So because she had the pendulum like this, like in front of her. And then she's like, Steph, it's moving. I'm like, well, yeah, you might be moving it. She's like, no. And she like, it drops on her. Like, well, she put it down on her lap because she was like, wait, is that me? Like, why is it still moving? And you can kind of see it moving, but I'm like, no, let it go so we can see if it's you or not, right? Because we want to like obviously check to see what it could be. And so she lets go. And like the pendulum is like still rotating in a circle on her lap, like in the circular motion. And she's like freaking out. She's like, I don't want to do this. And I was like, okay, it's okay. So we moved to the other part of the lobby and they have this animatronic of like a little witch that taps on the window. But it was so bizarre is that before we had the lobby to ourselves, there was a family moving around there drinking wine and that witch wasn't really tapping. And when we sat there, it was like silence. And then I'm setting everything up and the witch just started like profusely tapping. She's like, tap, 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 tap. And like, Yvette freaked out. This is after the whole pendulum thing. And she screams so loud. I think we woke up maybe people on the first floor.
Well, that is one thing I will say about the Glen Tavern Inn. There's no privacy. Like, even if you're in a room, you can hear everything that's going on. Everything.
Yeah. And so, like, so she lets go, right? And then, she sits down and the whole thing happens. And we're watching the witch because we think that this witch or whatever is like trolling us because it would stop out of nowhere. And then I would say something and it's tap, tap, tap. I'm like, okay, something is playing with us with this witch. I don't care what anyone says. There's something playing with us with this witch. And that was like the weirdest thing ever. And then the other thing that she said earlier was that a piece of paper, crumbled paper, moved by itself on the table. And I'm like, this is during the day when we first got there. And I said to her, well, maybe it's the wind. Because even though, again, like, I think that's a whole part of investigating is that you want to still find logical reasoning to things, right? So I said, maybe it's the wind, because they did have the door open. And she's like, girl, if there was wind, you would have felt it because it's a little hot today. I was like, you're right, because we were sweating. We were sweating. So she's like, you would have felt that cold breeze. Stop trying to lie to yourself. It's like, you're right. I'm sweating. I need some air.
Yeah.
You're right. So there was that. And then the other thing that I noticed when I first walked in, I told Monica, she's the owner, I started describing this like really thin man that doesn't like his face to be shown, and like hit the period of clothing he was wearing and how he's like the owner and he has like jewelry. And she was like, stop. She takes out her phone and it's a picture of what looks to be like a man like upstairs, like far away, very grainy. He has like Victorian clothing on. And his face is blacked out. Like, it's like the camera cropped his face out. It was like a little black square on her phone. And it's like through his face, but you can see the thin body and like the Victorian clothing. She was like, you just described this man that like we felt and have seen it show up in pictures. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know about this man. So, yeah.
That's crazy. Well, just so the listeners know, Glen Tavern Inn, I've talked about it on here before, but it's in Santa Paula, California. So not far from LA. I think it takes like an hour or so to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really, really cute inn. And there's a lot of history there because it used to be like a brothel and a gambling place. But also there was a big dam out that way way back in like the 1800s, I think it was. And it broke and it was unexpected and it killed a lot of people at that time.
Yep.
So, and I think the Glen Tavern helped to store some of the bodies, if I remember correctly. And so there's a lot of history from a lot of different things. And not only that, but in more recent times, there's also been some like overdoses there and like, I believe suicide.
Yep.
And so things like that going on there. So there's a lot of history and people have a lot of different experiences based on like what's coming through at the time. So,
yeah.
There's a lot, and there's a really good Italian restaurant inside the hotel.
The food was amazing. Like
I thought so too.
It was good. It was so good.
Okay, let's see here. Where am I? I haven't even been looking at my notes. Let me just look real quick because we are already over an hour.
Yeah. I was like, if not, I can always like, because I know I have to hop on another meeting soon. But
yeah, we'll let you go because like I feel like I barely got through any of my notes. So we'll just have you back on. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing these stories today. Tell everybody listening how they can follow you on social media, be part of one of the paranormal circles and all that kind of stuff, or psychic circles.
You're good. Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm on literally everything. I am on TikTok, Steffany_Strange, STEFFANY_Strange. Same thing on Instagram. You can find me also on Snapchat, Facebook and YouTube. I also have a YouTube channel where I've been covering a lot of Conjuring stuff. So if you guys want to see that, you can go there. And yeah, I also have a website too where you can keep up to date stuff. I'm literally on everything. So that's, but if you want to find my psychic circles, you can either check out the Crooked Path in Burbank. And we have all of our classes listed on their website. And I believe our Instagram page for the psychic circles is Greater LA. Let me just find it. And it's brand new. So forgive me. It's Greater LA .psychic.development group. I know it's a little bit long of a title, you guys, but yeah, you'll see it there. And you'll know it's us because we work with the Crooked Path. So
perfect. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Ghost Bunny podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on my spooky adventures. And I look forward to sharing a new ghost story with you each week. Please subscribe to my podcast so you're always the first to know when a new episode is out, and follow me on social media at Ghost Bunny Podcast on Instagram and at Ghost Bunny Podcast on YouTube. And of course, Bridget Marquardt on Instagram. And I am trying to put content up on my Patreon. Thank you guys for being so patient. Mwah.